Okay, what you're going to see in this course is when we do a skill, that skill is going to move forward, so it's going to build. So we've done Lewis dot diagrams, so you have to have that mastered for the next thing. What we're going to do now is we're going to draw covalent structures. Now, when we draw these covalent structures, what we're drawing is most of the structures in the world around us. So if you take a look at your periodic table, what covalent means is sharing. And what's being shared is electrons between nonmetals. So if you look at this line going down your periodic table right here, anything to the right of that is a nonmetal. So most of the things that we use in chemistry come from right there. The one exception is hydrogen. So this is also a nonmetal. Okay, so hydrogen is going to be very important. And then everything else that we draw to the right of that line right there. So here's our rules. Draw all elements in the structure, Lewis diagrams, and then circle lonely electrons. There's hydrogen. There's hydrogen. Remember, it's in the first column, so it gets one dot. And there's what the bond looks like. So a bond in chemistry is made up of two electrons in overlapping orbits. Now, that might not make a lot of sense at this point, but as we draw more things, you'll start to get the hang of this. Here's oxygen. Here's oxygen. It's in column 6, so we will do 6 dots. Column 6, we will do 6 dots. So look for lonely electrons. Now here's one rule. You can't take a lonely electron on one element and join it to the electron on the same element. It's got to go from one element to another. So I'm going to go from here to here. And I'm going to go from here to here. So that's 2 bonds. It's called a double bond. Okay? So that's what oxygen looks like as opposed to hydrogen. Now when you're doing this, which element goes in the middle? Well, it's the element you have the least of. So if you have 2 oxygens and you have 1 carbon, the carbon goes in the middle. It doesn't really matter. So if you mess this one up, you'll still get the right answer if you do the following. Lewis dot diagrams. So I look up on the periodic table what column everything's in. And make sure every lonely dot has a friend. 1, 2, 3, 4. If they don't all have friends, you have to rethink your drawing and do it again. So there should be nobody without a partner. There's CO2. Notice that the carbon has a double bond to oxygen, double bond to oxygen. Now, I said the element that we have the least of goes in the middle. Now, here's another small rule. If you don't know, take the element that's closest to column 4. So I've got an H, that's not close to column 4, an N and an O. The N's closest to the middle, so we're going to put it in the middle of the drawing. And once again, if you screw this up, this will not hurt you. You can still do this. Notice the way that I'm spreading my electrons out first and then giving them partners. Yes, it will make a difference. I see 3 lonely dots right there. 1, 2, 1 over on the hydrogen. If you started drawing this by connecting O to H, it might not work. And that's why I say sometimes you've got to start over. Now, here's the last rule. Whenever you have more than 1 carbon in a drawing, line them up. So if you're dealing with carbons, line them up. This is a very important type of drawing. This is called organic. I'm going to change that C3 to C3H8. Okay, so I'm going to link up my carbons, and then I'm going to draw 8 hydrogens around. And I'm going to link them all up. C2H4. Hey, one of the things about having success is knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know. If you're watching this video and there's something you can't figure out why I'm doing it, then I want you to send me an email and ask me, and I'll try and re-explain it or explain it in a different way. This time I'm going to hook my hydrogens up first, just because I can. Now, what you're going to notice is I still have 2 lonely electrons on each carbon, so I've got a double bond between the carbons and then a single bond to each of the hydrogens. Okay. Now I'm going to do CH3Cl. So the one that I have the least of, that's closest to column 4, goes in the middle. I'm going to put my H's around, doesn't matter where. Do my Lewis dot diagrams. Chlorine's in column 7. And I'm going to start circling things. And that's CH3Cl. Okay, so I am going to be assigning a worksheet on this a little later. I'm going to do one more video, and that's going to be on drawing ionic structures. So those will be your 2 videos for this afternoon, doing covalent structures and doing our other major type of molecule called an ionic structure. Now, where there's over 500,000 of these known to man, the next structure that we do, there's only 14,000 of those known to man. So master this one first, then work on your next type of drawing.